some of the key demands of the petitioners has been making Section 4 of the Special Marriage Act constitutional, making marriage a fundamental right, making adoption and surrogacy legal for queer couples and receiving the same rights as those in heterosexual relationships. However, a 5-judge bench headed by Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, ruled against legalizing same-sex marriage today. In this telecast, we will be taking a deep dive into the key demands made by petitioners and the responses that they have received to those demands. Joining us on the show at this point in time is Advocate Ashwini Dubey, Senior Supreme Court Advocate and Constitutional Expert, Prince Manvendra Singh Gohil, LGBTQ and human rights activist, also joins us on the show at this point in time. Harish Iyer, LGBTQ activist, also is joining us on the program today. Thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation. Very important to understand, Ashwini, that there are certain demands which have been put forth by the community that go on to challenge not only the longevity but also the entire structure of the Constitution as it stands. Marriage is not a fundamental right for a particular reason. It is something which sort of descends or rather percolates down from the state, from the culture, the family system, the nuclear family system, and then on so and so forth. What do you make of these demands, and why should this community be denied what they were denied today on the basis of what's written in the Constitution today?
Yeah, Vinit bhai, the sole reason for denial is that the Supreme Court does not have powers to permit them to get their marriages registered either under the Special Marriage Act or any other laws existing in this country. Because the marriage is a statutory right. Moment it comes to the statutory right, then the right goes to the parliament to make a law. Second, if had it been the constitutional right or fundamental right, the court would have been very right in enforcing it within Article 32 of the Constitution of India. That is why all the judges have unanimously reached to the conclusion that look, they can be given right. They can live together, they have a right to choose a partner, cohabit, enjoy physical and mental intimacy, and in the exercise of these rights, they have full freedom from physical threat and from coercive action, and the state is bound to afford them full protection of law in the case these rights are in peril. But the court went on saying that there is no unqualified right to marriage guaranteed by the Constitution. That qualifies it as a fundamental freedom with respect to
Ashwini, let me just stop you there. Let's in fact go over the demands that the petitioners are looking to change. Of course, the first demand is make Section 4 of the Special Marriage Act constitutional. That is, of course, the first one we are talking about. The second one is, of course, same rights as heterosexual couples, which includes succession, insurance, and other facilities as well. Same-sex adoption under the Central Adoption Resource Authority as well is also something that they have pressed for. And of course, what we discussed at the beginning, Ashwini, marriage should be a fundamental right. Well, do you think, Ashwini, it's the size of this particular community that perhaps doesn't allow for this bigger change that might have an impact on the entire constitution and the people who are served by this constitution?
No, Vinit bhai, they are our own people. They are the part and parcel of our own society. The question here is, can, by virtue of a judgment, the legal right which will be given to them will be having acceptability in this society, that too, where there is a codified laws have been there and either derived from the religious scriptures or the codified by the parliament. But how the conditions of marriage will be decided? What would be the ceremonial and ritual requirements under personal laws governing the individuals? And if marriage is to be solemnized and registered under any personal law, the requirement of registration, if marriage is to be registered under the Special Marriage Act, then how the restitution of conjugal rights will be dealt with, judicial separation, divorce, conditions of divorce, alimony and maintenance, like permanent alimony maintenance, expenses of marriage proceedings, and very rightly, very candidly, Vinit bhai, you have said that the property rights, the adoption rights, the inheritance rights, the succession rights, then rights in the property of the family, father, mother-in-law, and supposedly tomorrow any dispute arises between the father and son, then what laws would be there to deal with that? So today, supposedly, if it is recognized, because in Notesh Kehar's judgment, right to live a dignified life, and that too followed by the 9 judges bench in Justice K.S. Puttutami, right to privacy is a fundamental right. But here the question is that the gender neutral constructions of the Special Marriage Act and the Foreign Marriage Act 1969 are both section E and F subclause. The opinion of, if you read the Justice Bhatt, is exhaustive as to the reasons that need to be supplemented. Why? Because that says the man and women, and ultimately size doesn't matter. They should be given rights, but right by the people who are there to amend the laws, because more than once it will be having repercussions or implication in more than 160 laws. And if it is so, then ultimately who will, for every right, they will approach to the court of law. And I see another aspect. The door to the justice is not closed, Vinit Bhai. Why? Because a cabinet secretary, the empowered committee headed by the cabinet secretary, has been directed to look into this aspect, and the central government has also made a statement in the court of law that we will look into it, that what more rights can be given. And tomorrow, if supposingly cabinet secretary report leaves open anything which they can challenge to the court, and another option can be open. There is no that the doors to justice is closed, but as in the earlier discussion we had, it should not be treated like Jallikattu judgment. It should not be treated like the judgment which was passed in Kerala as a temple. So these things has to be looked into as the wisdom of the parliament. They should be given right. They need their rights, but right by the right authority. Over to you.
Good points there, Ashwini. Really appreciate the points that you have made. Mr. Manvendra Singh Gohil, LGBT rights activist, and Raj Pipla Royal also joins us on the broadcast. Manvendra, thank you for speaking with us. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
First up, your initial reaction to what happened in the Supreme Court today. It's obviously a setback for this community.
Yeah. See, honestly, in the beginning, I was a bit confused because when we heard the Chief Justice talk about so many points and to bring to the notice that about the queerness, about the queer history, and about many things were pointed out. But then it was clear that the other judges had opposed or had not agreed to the Chief Justice's decisions. So then it was clear that these rights have not been given to us, but they have that the other judges or like the majority of the judges' decision will be taken into account while making the final judgment. So it was kind of disappointing, I would say, but at the same time, there have been some plus points also which were seen. Like, for example, it was made very clear that the transgenders who are in the heterosexual position, like trans men or trans women, would be able to get married without making any amendments into the current laws, and the present laws would allow them to marry a trans man can marry a trans man, and vice versa, and a trans man can marry a cisgender woman, and vice versa. So I think that's at least one positive thing happened through this judgment. And I mean, now at least we are clear that Supreme Court has no power, as Mr. Dubey just now mentioned, that there's no power is there with the Supreme Court. So they can't do anything about it, and we need to now start looking at other options with the cabinet secretary who would be heading the committee, and we have to see now how we could do our advocacy at that level to see that whatever rights we are fighting for, we could get them.
Right. Well, let's also talk about some of the other setbacks that occurred today. Of course, adoption has been a big issue with the LGBTQ community, and the Supreme Court, of course, once again said that that is perhaps not a normal home for any child to be brought up, and that is the reason why it is not going to be allowed. Your thoughts on that?
See, there have been studies, and there have been case studies which from various couples where the children have been raised, and they've been raised in a in a very comfortable area, and they've been raised much better than even heterosexual couples. That we have seen in many other geographical areas. So I don't think this argument can hold good, because in India also, I mean, even though we have seen that the adoption is not legal, but there have been a lot of LGBT couples who have adopted children, even not legally. They have been given good homes at least. See, we have to also think about the future of the children. During pandemic, so many children have become orphans. They have no future. They don't know where they are going, what's happening with them. So at least if some law is made where they are able to be adopted, then imagine, I mean, how much bright future, good education, health facilities could be given to these children who have no hope, or they don't know where they are going to go. So so I think at least under these circumstances, one should consider over giving this right to adoption.
What about succession insurance? There are certain administrative impediments that the community faced, and those have been eased out. There have been attempts made by the Supreme Court to ease them out. Would you say that is some sort of a silver lining in what happened today?
See, I mean, I am the kind of a person who will not lose hope that easily. So it's just that now we have to change our strategies. Earlier it was towards the judicial system. Now we know that judicial system has no power. They cannot take these decisions. They have no right to take these decisions. So now we have to work towards the legislature, towards the parliament, towards our parliamentarians, to see how we could advocate to them that why it is necessary that these rights should be given to us, whether it is insurance or house or property or whatever we need to fight for. So it's just that we need to now change our strategies to work for our welfare.
All right, Ashwini, what's the legal recourse from here? What are the options left for the LGBTQ community? This has obviously been a long fight for them. When it was decriminalized, it was a reason for them to celebrate. Obviously, as I've already said, in a succession of events, the organic mode, the next step was for them to be able to marry each other, adopt children. What kind of a timeline are we looking at for something like that to be realized, considering that, you are such a constitutional expert?
Yeah, Vinit bhai, something has to be done by the parliamentarians. Parliamentarians must take a call, because this is not that those people should be isolated. And now we are in the process of decolonizing every law which existed prior to 1947. So in that eventuality, moment the laws are being, either reforms are taking place or certain new laws are taking place, they should be given, their rights should be well placed under the law. Second, the parliament should form a committee which should read the country's diverse field, also the Special Marriages Act, also the Hindu Marriage Act, Codified Laws, Parsi Marriages Act, and third is the laws derived from the religious scriptures. Vinit bhai, very candidly, you have taken this point, but one point I must say here, whatever the arguments have taken place, that have been taken place only the reforms in the Hindu Marriage Act. The Shariat law or the law derived from the religious scriptures still exists as it was in 1937. So Muslim Personal Law Application Act has not been reformed, barring the triple talaq case. So only way out is uniform civil code should be there, which recognizes the right to succession, which recognizes the right to adoption, which recognizes an equal rights reserve, and they should be given their rights by the parliament. Parliament take a law, committee should come to the conclusion that there is a separate, and if there is a need, separate law should be declared there by giving them rights. But I do not concur with the views of my friend that many orphan children have been found and they are here and there roads. See, there are well-established statutory authorities are there who are looking after, and many parents are there who have taken it. It's not that sole burden lies on you to take into it. But yes, so far as the rights are concerned, because if right does not exist, right to marry does not exist, it's not a constitutional right, then the right to other thing derived from that marriage may not exist. So court, in its wisdom, the majority view and minority view, if we see the to some extent, judges are conquering on one point, and they are unanimous decision that the courts cannot enforce it as a fundamental right to get married. It is to be through the wisdom of the parliament. But yes, so far as the living with dignity, living in a dignified life, living a private life, so far as the other rights are concerned, you would agree with me. If any member from LGBT community approaches to the police station saying that some injustice has happened, police cannot deny. Even there, if there was law, then also and prior there too also. If anyone approaches to the police authorities are there. Lalita Kumari judgment, which has been widely argued today and find space in the judgment, that was available to every citizen of state, because citizen does not bifurcate between man and woman. But here, since the notion of marriage depend on the man and woman, and that biological man and woman, various laws says the man and woman, personal laws says the man and woman, codified laws says the woman, conditions of marriage has been decided, conditions of divorce has been decided.
Right.
That can be there by virtue of a parliament legislation. Over to you.
Right. Great point there, Ashwini. Harish Iyer, marriage equality case petitioner. In this matter also joins us on the broadcast. Harish, appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us. Do you think marriage is a fundamental right?
I think marriage is a right. Okay, call it fundamental or call it non-fundamental. These all are technical terms. Marriage is a right that should be guaranteed for every individual, and it should not just be for heterosexual people. Whether I'm a man falling in love with a man or a man falling in love with a woman, it should not matter. As long as I want to get into a legal partnership with somebody and want it to be recognized by the state should allow me that opportunity.
Harish, why do you think the Supreme Court did not uphold marriage as a fundamental right?
I think they deferred it. They pushed it to the courts of the parliament because they thought that it was not their space to speak about marriage as a fundamental right, because that would have also meant that those rights need to be given to the LGBTQI plus people. But when I was listening to a few beautiful statements, I mean, what we saw in today's parliament, in today's courtroom, was an eloquence of English. I saw some wonderful English being said by everybody, but in the end we got nothing. The English was beautiful, the words were fantastic, but the result was zero. We are just where we started. I don't know why we went into these things at all, because we are exactly at the same place that we started.
All right. Point taken, Harish, but what is the meaning of marriage for you? Why is it necessary for the law to recognize same-sex marriage?
It's important for law to recognize love of every kind. And the reason why love and law need to be in tandem and they need to be in bed with each other is because it's not just about singing Hum Aapke Hain Kaun and having a Hum Aapke Hain Kaun kind of a wedding. वो तो हम अभी भी कर रहे हैं. We're still having Hum Aapke Hain Kaun kind of weddings. You should come to a gay wedding. You will, or an LGBTQI plus wedding. You'll see more fun than heterosexual weddings. So that's happening even now. The fight for marriage equality is for legal recognition of our relationship. And what we mean by legal recognition is, if I'm dying, my partner should have the right to decide whether I need to be removed off the ventilator or not. He should be given that right. He should be allowed to comment on that. So that's one thing. Also about inheritance. If I die and I have no family, I don't have children, you have not given me the right to adopt, so I don't have children. If I plan to have cohabit with somebody and there's nobody else in my family, where does all the wealth that I've accumulated, where does it go? Where does it go? Does it go to the state? Are you not not legalizing my marriage so that you can take all my money. So that's something that I want to ask the state, because where does the money go? I have accumulated wealth and I don't have a child. You don't allow me to have a child, adopt a child, and so where does the money go? I can't give it to my partner, who's my partner, who's my life partner. So where does the money go? Does the state want to take all the money off mine?
Right, Harish. I'm going to ask you a generic question, but an important one. How do you feel today after the Supreme Court judgment?
I am disappointed, but I have a smile on my face and a hope in my heart that this fight that we have begun right now is just a pit stop. We are going to rise up again. We are going to win more battles. I have filed another petition for blood donation. Queer people are denied, are not allowed to donate blood. So gay people are not allowed to donate blood. So I'm going to fight that case as well. After Section 377, our path was not linear. So we can fight for adoption rights, we can fight for marriage rights, we can fight for various other rights parallelly. So I think we are in that path, and I'm fighting for the right of blood donation.
Harish, last question. What is your appeal to the government and the civil society?
I think we have come out of the closet, and we want you to come in and peep into our lives. Come in and peep into our lives and understand from us who we really are. Understand from us what our lives are. Understand from us what our pains are, what our joys are, because it's not just the person whom you're watching on TV who happens to be from the LGBTQI plus community. This person could have been a person in your family. Your children could be from the LGBTQI plus community. You yourself could be from the LGBTQI plus community. So come out and come in and accept who you are, and accept the fact that love can be in different forms. End में प्यार जीतता है, और यहाँ पे भी अंत में प्यार की जीत होगी.
Harish, thank you so much for joining us, and really appreciate your thoughts on this matter.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.